I don't know if I ever even envisioned like, hey, I'm going to start a showcase or tournaments or anything like that. I was given a lot of lessons. I loved working with players. I was coaching. I live here in Kansas City, was coaching at a few different high schools. And the biggest thing was just like helping the players. I know it sounds like a little cliche, but it was like, all right, let's help them get better, and then let's help them get to where they want to be, which is, playing college baseball. So I guess Best in the U.S. I wouldn't say it started by accident, but I had a few players who were very good and were looking to get college looks, and then I kind of just tagged along to a few events because they would come to practice and like tell me that they went here and spent this money, and we won't drop any names, but just would go to certain events, and I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, like you're looking at these three schools, so like were they there? That seems like a fair question. They'd be like,
Right.
no, no, they weren't. I'm like, well, why, why did you go?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Noble Podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm very excited to be joined by today's guest, former pitcher for the University of Kansas and founder and owner of Best in the U.S. showcases and tournaments, Nolan Mansfield. Nolan, really appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, Matt. Excited to be here. I like the bats in the background. Nice little setup you got.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's dive in. Want to touch on your playing career briefly before we get into the other stuff. You were a pitcher for the Jayhawks, yeah?
Sure, yeah, pretty unremarkable career, I guess I'd say, but a fun journey along the way, which is what like, that's all that matters. It's all about the journey. Yeah, I walked on my sophomore year. I played club baseball my freshman year at KU.
Okay.
Club experience was fun. We traveled around. It was a really fun bunch of dudes. Lived the college life and played club ball. And then I went to walk on tryouts my sophomore year, tried out as a pitcher, and then Coach Price kind of pulled me in after the tryout. I was like low 90s. I could throw strikes, I could do some different things. And yeah, he said, we don't have any pitcher spots left, but we have a catcher spot that just opened up. So I've told the story at like a million Best in the US events. So if anybody's ever been to one, they're like, yeah, I know this. But then, yeah, so he said basically we have a third string catcher job open. Have you ever caught? And I said, yeah, definitely. I had never really caught since I was like 10 years old, but went and they immediately gave me some gear and some different stuff, like be here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. And I was like a bullpen catcher essentially. I got to, during fall ball and practice and different stuff, I hit and did all the different things that a regular position player would do. But the problem was I was terrible at catching, and I'm not very big. I'm like 6 foot, 185 pounds. So after that year, I was like, Coach Price, this was cool, this was great, but I wouldn't really want to do this. Now like the bullpen catcher spot, it's kind of like a spot, like a student manager sort of thing. But I was
Sure.
like on the team and a third string catcher. I guess if the other two catchers got hurt, I would have actually had to catch in the game, which would have been problematic. But yeah, so then after that year, he invited me back for the next fall just to kind of be on the team as a pitcher for the fall and give it a shot. I think he just did it because he was a very nice guy, and it worked out. Yeah, I made the team, I guess, a second time and pitched for the Jayhawks. Was in the bullpen. My senior year was like our kind of our setup guy. Got to pitch at Texas A&M, at TCU, all these cool places. So
Sweet. Yeah, that's amazing. I got to back up for just a second. You're from the Philly area originally, right?
correct. Yeah,
How
yeah,
did
right.
how did you end up at KU?
Sure. So my mom is from Salina,
Oh, okay.
here, thriving metropolis, Salina, Kansas. And so I'm like a third generation Jayhawk. So it was
Got it.
kind of in the cards. I was a good high school baseball player, had some offers on the East Coast, but I think it was like I was in the eighth grade and it was like Kirk Heinrich and Nick Collison playing basketball. I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to college there. So it was kind of destined to be no matter what. So I was going there regard I had met with them for baseball stuff when I was in high school. they never gave me an offer or anything, obviously. And then I just kind of kept in touch a little bit. And then it sounds kind of silly, but like the club baseball thing was not like serious, but it was definitely like a more organized club baseball than some other schools might have. Like we traveled and played like in Arizona and at
Sure.
like Colorado State and a few different places. And so I don't know. I was like playing on a club baseball team throwing like 91, 92. So I think like wasn't a total dud when I went to walk on tryout. So I ended up there. That's how I ended up on the team, but I was going to KU regardless. So
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So after school's done, you go on to found Best in the US. What what was sort of the impetus of starting a showcase and tournament organization?
yeah, great question. I don't know if I ever even envisioned like, hey, I'm going to start a showcase or tournaments or anything like that. I was given a lot of lessons. I loved working with players. I was coaching. I live here in Kansas City. Was coaching at a few different high schools. And the biggest thing was just like helping the players. I know it sounds like a little cliche, but it was like, all right, let's help them get better, and then let's help them get to where they want to be, which is, playing college baseball. So I guess Best in the US, I wouldn't say it started by accident, but I had a few players who were very good and were looking to get college looks. And then I kind of just tagged along to a few events because they would come to practice and like tell me that they went here and spent this money and we won't drop any names, but just would go to certain events and I'd be like, all right, cool. Well, like, you're looking at these three schools. So like, were they there? That seems like a fair question. They'd be like,
Right.
no, no, they weren't. I'm like, well, why, why did you go? So at that time, I guess it was just kind of like these players have a problem. Let's try and fix it, I guess. So just real grassroots here in Kansas City. We put together, a buddy and I put together a smaller little scout day at Kansas City, Kansas Community College. This is probably like 2015, probably like 10 years ago. And I just called those coaches that some of my guys wanted. It was, like Rockhurst and a few
Mhm.
few of the schools. And I think we had like 8 or 10 schools there. And we didn't I think we just paid enough, had the kids pay enough that we can rent the field and do whatever. And it was like, cool. And then, a few of the parents afterwards were like, man, we've been waiting to see coaches like that for so long. And we were like, okay, well, then let's see if next summer we can do it like really big and try and do something cool. So then I think it's, my years might be messed up as 2015 or 2016. And we rent out the T-Bone Stadium and we had like 70 colleges and like 120 kids, and I said this was pretty fun. So
The rest is history.
the rest is history. Yeah. So that it started with kind of just one event, and then I said, I think we should do this, full time. Let's try and do it all around the country and different things. So it's
Yeah.
how.
My follow-up question, you touched on it there just a bit, but I was gonna, see if there was sort of a hole, or you saw a hole in the market, for something different than what, a lot of others were. You said, these kids went to a showcase and coaches they wanted to see weren't even there. So there's that. Is there, was there anything else that you saw that could be done better or differently or?
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't even wrap my head around at the time the players spending a lot of money and not getting in front of any schools. I just thought it was like really silly. Like why does Cole Pladson need to come take BP in front of like me and Matt Mooney? Like so we can say, yeah, dude, great swing. Like it just doesn't why it doesn't make any sense. If you want to play college baseball, then you need to get in front of those college coaches so they can evaluate you. So like I wouldn't even say it was like that I thought there was a giant hole. I guess I just didn't understand it. How just some of the bigger companies just would run, events on kind of name recognition or power or whatever you'd consider that. So I knew. that people are going to keep going to those type of events, and people will always do whatever they want to do. But if we could put together something that like provided really good results and that people would think makes sense,
Sure.
then we'd be successful if we were able to do that.
Yeah, for sure. So can you give us sort of the 30,000 foot view of best in the US? There's a lot of organizations putting on showcases right now for a kid that's, you know, doesn't can't go to a showcase every week. Uh why should they, look at best in the US and
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
go to one of
no,
those events?
for sure. Yeah, like I said, I think there are a lot of events. I think that some events do a good job, some events don't. I think ultimately for players, it's just about getting in touch with colleges. The landscape today is really, really crazy with the transfer portal and just all these different things. So we don't, and no event should be promising like you're going to go to this event and the University of Tennessee is going to sign you and it's going to be great. But with how crazy things are and how fluid things are, like making those connections and getting connected with college coaches is the key to everything. So, at our events, we bring in, at minimum like 35, 40 colleges of all different levels. We'll have really high D1 guys, we'll have really good junior college guys, we'll have NAIA schools, all these different things. And then, one of our favorite things about our events is that day one is a workout. So while some events you may have been to, guys will just like run the 60 and then you like take some ground balls and you hit BP and you dip out of there. Uh, Ours is technically a camp by NCAA standards, so we can arrange for kind of some small group one-on-one time, have guys, if you're an infielder, you're working with a coach from, the University of Alabama or Georgia Southern or wherever we're at, and he's working you through like what they work on at their practices and such. We
Sure.
do the same for hitting, same if you're a pitcher, you're in the bullpen, we have colleges working. So, it's not just come and like run a 60 and hope that you do a great job and everyone's like slobbering over you. It's all right, get here, let's learn from some coaches, let's create some connections with these coaches. Obviously you'd like to wow them with what you've got, but there's a lot more layers to that, and there's a lot more layers in the recruiting process in general. So rarely ever does a kid come and like it does happen, but like hits two bombs and you're like, we want that guy, and it's like a
Right.
done deal. It's normally, you know, a guy we've had coaches, University of Tennessee again, one of my guys there, when he was at Houston, he recruited a guy like from a junior college because he knew him from the Best in the US event that was like 4 years before. And he's like, I loved that kid then. And then he just had to grow. And then we saw him at Johnson County and now he's, in the Big 12. And it's so these things are just they're rarely ever point A to point B. So we try at our events, how much can we educate on the recruiting stuff? How many connections can we help you build? How many opportunities can we give for you to show coaches what you've got? So we try and do a lot of everything, educating, giving guys the most opportunities. Every one of our events are at really awesome venues and stuff too. So it's, just a good experience.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you touched on quite a bit of this in all of that. But the best in the U.S., I guess you could sort of say ethos is exposure, honest opportunity, and recruiting resources. Um, can you touch on that just a little bit? What that kind of means for the kids who are coming to your events?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest, I mean, I guess all three would be really big, but like we started with the honest opportunity. Just like I said, we actually have on our website a full thing of like things we promise and things that we don't. Because a lot of people go to events thinking they are going to be guaranteed certain things. Number one being that they're going to play great, which with baseball you can just never kind of you can never promise somebody that.
Sure.
So, but we want to make sure that we're promising you, hey, if you come to an event, there's not going to be 400 kids there. Okay, you're going to get a ton of at bats. You're going to get a lot of reps. We're going to have like a loose environment. You're going to have coaches in the dugout who are going to talk to you and work with you, different things like that. It's not going to be like a meat factory where you're just getting like two ground balls and you go sit for 6 hours and then, come back later, anything like that. So, um, we try and just be really forthright with what we're promising that
Right.
way. We're promising a platform. We're promising that you're never going to come to an event where college coaches aren't going to be there. It's not going to be me and Matt Mooney on the sidelines with a clipboard. Okay, you're going there because the guys, that you would like to get in front of are going to be there. So that's kind of our main thing that we are promising. That goes along with the exposure quite a bit.
Yeah.
There are other events obviously that bring college coaches out, could name them, whatever, whatever. But we just have a good, it's why the events are popular. It's why we keep growing, is that that whether the event is in, Eugene, Oregon or in, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania or wherever, that we're going to have colleges there. So it's it's a it's a good opportunity for guys who want that. And then lastly, one thing that we've really dove into, we've always provided video for players, a player page. We have a full like big online course called Recruiting Roadmap. So we've always done stuff like that. When Coach Fowler runs the events that he runs, he does an awesome recruiting talk. So we always try and add more education stuff, but nowadays it's even more important just because there's so much kind of craziness. But one of the big things we like with that is just like everything with our events are included. Course, like, online course, videos, player page, all those different things. We never charge anybody any extra for that. So we like to just think once you come to an event, whether you hit three home runs or you struck out three times, that you're going to leave having learned something, getting some more resources,
Sure.
and yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'd love to dive just a little deeper into the showcases and potentially even the tournaments as well.
Yeah,
Higher level tournaments where there's college coaches scouting. Can you provide, a little commentary on what, in your experience of doing this for several years, what college coaches are looking for? There's obviously the metrics, exit velo and 60 time and, pitcher velo. But I'm sure
yeah,
there's a lot more that those coaches are looking at because, you go to some of these events and everybody hits the ball hard and
sure.
everybody runs fast. And what are some of those things that might, make these kids stand out a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, great question. It is, I mean, it is like hilariously cliche. We say it at the events. It's the first thing, when I gather with the guys like in the morning before the workout or whatever, we just say, I think it was my buddy Kurt Courtwright at Illinois would say, there's not much you can do for me to circle your name and like for me to recruit you, but there's a lot you can do for me to cross your name out right now. And it's always hustle, bad body language, bad energy are just the three things immediately that are, it doesn't matter anything you do for the rest of the thing. If like the first thing you do is you're just kind of moping out there and you're like, it sucks to be here, then you're done. You're done. The college
Hmm.
coaches at any level are like, we're done with that dude. Doesn't matter how you play. So it's just so cliche, but we say it. We're like, guys, if you miss a ground ball, if you have a bad round of BP, if you do, all these, you walk a bunch of guys and you're pitching, the college coaches have guys who do that. They don't care. They know that can happen eventually. Um, everyone's entitled to have a bad day or a bad 2 days, but it's just so much about body language and effort and wanting to be around that person. I know that sounds silly, but like some college baseball seasons they're really long. So like,
Sure.
are you good enough? We have had guys that have recruited guys because they're just like, I want him in our program. And I never heard them say a word about the guy's swing or his run or his fielding actions or anything about that. It's just we want him there with us. And it's like, oh, okay, that's not what you normally think from showcases, but it's like it's the biggest thing. And it's the same, with the tournaments. Obviously, the tournament world is just insane. There's a million huge ones all over the country every weekend in the summertime. But I will. occasionally get texts like, "Hey man, send me that guy's pitching video," or "Do you have some videos of that swing?" Something like that. That happens occasionally, but I get, I don't know, 5 texts a weekend about it is super hot outside. Thank you, sweetheart. Hey, thank you, baby. All right, there it is. Knew it was going to happen
Hey,
eventually.
it's
Knew,
life.
knew it would happen. And it's hot outside, in case anyone was wondering. But yeah, so with the tournaments, I mean, the biggest thing that we ever get texts or messages or calls about is being like, I can't believe that program was acting that way, that coach was acting that way, that player was acting that way. Like, and and we're just like, yep, like,
Yeah.
and we had one that was 2023 at I'll be vague about it, at a big Division 1 field with the entire Division 1 staff there watching, and the kid hit a home run, and the dad caused a scene,
Oh,
and it was,
ooh,
was just uh, it's just an automatic
yeah.
kill. I will get you a Band-Aid in 1 minute. Okay, thank you. So, sorry about that.
No, it's good. It's good.
So that, it is just really, really intense that way.
Yeah,
Cammy, please go down.
parents
Please go
just
downstairs.
watch the game and cheer.
Just
Right?
watch the game.
Just
Yep.
watch
So
the game
it's,
and cheer.
it's players, parents, and travel ball coaches. Not trying to, take a dump on everybody here, but there's
No,
just
yeah.
a lot of there's just a lot of what you can do that you think is important, but it's a lot of just please don't do these
Yeah.
certain things that really affect your destiny kind of worse than anything else.
No, I think that's great insight that there's a lot more that you can do to get yourself checked off the list than
Crazy.
to get yourself there. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wish I
that's
wish
good.
I had more, a lot of everyone always asks, especially at the individual showcases, like what's this guy looking for? What should my 60 be? This and
Right.
that. And it's that's just like an unanswerable kind of question at all times.
Sure.
Go out there and show them you can play,
Yeah.
and then show them the rest of the things I said. Good energy, good effort, that you love to be there, all those things.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's some great insight. All right. This should be fun since you're sort of a generation removed from the kids playing today.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to hear your perspective. We do a little
Um,
exercise with the players we have on the show called drip or skip. You familiar with this?
like, am I familiar with the word drip?
Well, no, just the drip or skip in general, you know.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can.
All right.
I I'm sure I'm not the target audience for this segment, but
No, that's why this
maybe that's a
should
good
be
thing.
good.
Sure.
All right, we'll start it off here. Drip or skip,
Okay.
pants above the knees. Thoughts on that?
Like above the knees, or
Yeah.
or a skip.
Skip, not for
Like,
you.
no, I don't understand. I was a stirrups guy, so
Okay.
I can acknowledge like a good high pant,
Sure.
but yeah, it's confusing to me. Haven't wrapped my head around it enough yet, but for me, right now, it's a skip.
All right, there you go. All right, next, drip or skip, sliding mitt in the back pocket when you're out on the field.
Nah, drip it. I'm
Drip
good with
it.
that.
Okay, you're okay
Yeah.
with that. All right,
It's
good.
just gotta it has to, unless it's like really early in the season, it's got to be a little dirty to show
Okay.
that you've gotten on base. It can't
Can't
be
have
August
clean.
and you have a pearly white sliding mitt.
Okay. No,
That's a
I like that. That's good insight.
problematic.
All right, drip or skip, accessories that don't match your uniform. You know, maybe an arm sleeve that's like a neon green and
Yeah, I
you're royal blue.
think you already know I'm kind of a hater on the like hot pink, neon green. I hope let's call it a phase of what's going on.
A phase, yeah.
But I'll skip it. I
Skip.
think
Okay.
it's just
All right.
unnecessary. You know your team's colors.
Sure. And then finally, now this isn't a new age thing by any means. Drip or skip, pine tar all over your helmet.
Oh, definitely drip. It's big
Drip.
time. That's
Yeah,
like
okay.
old steroids guys in the 90s, just like
Yeah,
slobber.
just as
Lenny
much
Dyke.
pine tar on there as you can get.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. That's some great insight as well. I appreciate you indulging us with that.
I thought
And
that was
then
going to be much worse. I thought
well, you
I thought I was
know,
going to be like skip, 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 skip,
skip,
skip.
skip. Yeah. We'll keep it short.
Yeah.
And then a few we'll wrap it up here with a few final questions that we ask everybody. Who you have winning the World Series this year?
Oh boy, I'm a big Phillies fan, but unfortunately, I don't think that they have just quite enough. I think you just kind of have to pick the Dodgers because it just
Yeah,
seems pretty silly otherwise. They have very good players.
sure. Yeah.
Tough.
They and they're paying for it as
And
well.
they
So
will be paying for it in 30 years of deferred money.
all right. And then finally, we like to stir up a little controversy.
Sure.
Uh Favorite barbecue spot in Kansas City? What's the best?
Oh, that's a good is there like a universal like right answer that most people say?
I don't think so. I think there are different factions.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just depends on, there's sort of a Kansas City style, but even within that, it
Yeah.
varies a little bit. So people definitely have their favorites.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to announce that the correct answer is Q39.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a lot of people agree with you on that one. It's
Yeah.
certainly delicious.
Hadn't had it for a long time. Had it, that was probably in like January, maybe six weeks ago. And I remember being like, yeah, this one's the best.
All right, there you have it. All
Easy.
right.
What is yours, Matt?
So it's really nostalgic for me. I grew up eating this with my dad. That was like our spot. I grew up, an hour north of Kansas City, so when we were in Kansas City, it was a spot we go to. My favorite is Gates.
I can't
Um,
even believe that. Gates people are like their own
and like I
thing.
said, it's nostalgic. Something about their beef, their brisket with
Yeah.
their sauce. It's a little bit vinegary.
It's very, very
It's
great.
like the perfect combo for me. I love it.
Yeah.
But again, like that would certainly stir up some controversy. I don't think very many people would say that.
I think anyone over the age, I don't even know how old you are, but like if you're over like 45 years old, the answer's definitely Gates every single time.
The Gates or
But
Arthur Bryant's, right?
or Arthur Bryant's, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Staples, old school.
wasn't expecting that from you.
Yeah, well, there you go. You learn something every day. All right, yeah, let's wrap it up, Nolan. I greatly appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule. Everyone, if you're interested in showcases or tournaments, head to the website or go check them out on Instagram at Best in the US Showcases.
There
Nolan,
it is.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, we'll see
Go Noble.
you.